You ready for me to go? All right then. I'd like to wish you all a good evening. My name is Kel Cecil. I am the founder and chair of the Digital Hope Foundation and the founder and chair of Landville Gamer Community. Landville Gamer Community is a gaming community in southern central West Virginia. We have events that range from 80 to 100 people for every event. Also, the Digital Hope Foundation is a group of gamers who are interested in doing good things and attempting to improve the community. What I'm here today to talk about is an event that we've established and we're trying to spread to other LAN organizations, which is called LAN for Life. LAN for Life is quite just very basic. It's a charity LAN party. A little bit of history about LAN for Life. LAN for Life was started 2 years ago in the fall of 2005. In the wake of the success of our spring 2000, I don't even remember the date for that one now. In the success of our last LAN party, we wanted to do another fall event for the fall semester. And I came up with the wonderful idea to do it for charity. So we decided to benefit the American Cancer Society, and therefore LAN for Life was born. The first LAN party was held in November of 2005. We raised $383 for the Fayette County American Cancer Society. We hastily did that LAN party. We only had about 2 months worth of planning. It was very quick. About a year later, we had two more events since then, and we really wanted to try to put what we had learned in practice. So in LAN for Life 2006, our second event, we once again decided to support the Fayette County American Cancer Society. This time we were able to raise over $800, and we had about 75 contestants. This LAN party was about half a year's worth of planning. What I'm going to share with you today, is a step-by-step process that we use to do LAN parties. And my goal today is to have one person walk out of this room to do a LAN for Life. And if I do that for you today, then my purpose here has been served. I've broken it down to about 13 or so steps, and I'll read them for you right now. Find and secure location, planning the initial details of the event, communicating with the charity, advertise your brains out, get a few sponsors, plan a few tournaments and games, secure some media coverage, do a stop check, perform some pre-event organization, set up, do the event, clean up, and then rest. First of all, before you can even do the event, you have to figure out some basic details about your event. You first of all need to come up with a time, a date, and at this point at least a list of locations that you can consider having the event at. At this stage, you really also need to consider having a web page for your event. Now, a lot of smaller LAN people will ask me, why do we need a web page? Why is that important? Well, I have at least 4 reasons, and I can probably think of more if you ask me. For one thing, online registration allows you to think about how many people you're going to have. It kind of gives you a head count. So you don't plan for 50 people, you end up getting 75 or something, and you don't have enough food. Pre-registration head count can kind of help alleviate a problem like that. A website also gives you an easy place to access for people who are interested in coming to your event. It makes it very easy for them to access this information. Also, if you have site forums on your website will allow your LAN guests to communicate with each other and decide what games they want to play beforehand. If they don't want to play your games, let them decide amongst themselves what they want to play. And then the fourth reason, and possibly one of the most important, sponsors will demand this. We've had cases where certain sponsors will email us and say, we don't like your site, change it or you lose our sponsorship. I mentioned earlier that at the initial stage you need to be thinking of a list of locations that you would like to do your event at. And there's a few guidelines that we've found that work pretty well in determining where we want to have these LAN parties. The area should be very spacious. You're going to have a lot of computers, you're going to have a lot of people, and it's really just nicer if everybody can spread out and not be, scrunched up. It has to have plenty of power. As a general rule of thumb, We choose areas that we know were built with power requirements in mind. If you look at the picture here, that's a picture of the WVU Tech ballroom at WVU Tech's campus in Montgomery, West Virginia. And it's designed for events, for large events such as our LANs and concerts and things like that. So power is not a concern for us. The room also needs to be able to be fairly dark. And we also like for it to be very light if we need it to be. During awards ceremony, we'll turn on some fading lights, and that way everybody can see to come up, get their prize, get their picture taken, and go back down. On-site internet connectivity is also something that you probably definitely want. It's really more optional, but in certain cases it makes it so much easier to take care of a problem, such as if Counter-Strike, if Steam or if Valve decides to release a patch the night before a LAN party and somebody didn't get that patch, that can cause no end of trouble. Communication with the charity. Now this is where a lot of places will actually start to crumble, because not everybody remembers to keep an open line of communication with the charity. And there's two good reasons for this. Number one, if you're open with the charity and you tell them what's going on, the charity will do everything that they can to help you. As I said earlier, we've benefited the Fayette County American Cancer Society. The Fayette County American Cancer Society has been very good about getting us donations of prizes for our events. Among the things they've donated some USB hubs, and then one year they donated quite a few flats of 20-ounce vault drinks. There was enough pop at the end of the night that a lot of people just left with a six-pack of vault in their hands. We didn't have to charge them anything for it. Another good reason to keep the charity informed is that keeping the charity informed allows them to keep your event on their calendar. A lot of times, if people won't remember the other information about your event, they will remember what charity you're helping, what charity you're benefiting. And a lot of times they'll try to call the charity and say, hey, I'm interested in the LAN for Life that's occurring. Do you know when that is? If you've not kept an open line of communication with that charity, they're not going to know what they're talking about. So if you keep that open line of communication, they can say, well, this is who you need to contact, this is when it is, and give them information. And that's one more person who may not have been at your event. Advertise your brains out, which is probably my favorite, because right here is where you really need to be creative. Among the things that we've done is we've done flyers, which I've misspelled right there. That's cool. We've done flyers. We've done sidewalk chalk. Absolutely love sidewalk chalk because we paint the WVU Tech campus all kinds of different pretty colors. Pink, green, orange, you name it, we've done it. We usually like to get girls to go help us because they'll draw pretty pictures and things, and for some reason, a dominantly male campus will pay more attention to that. Radio and TV spots are really awesome as well. If you're doing an event for charity, it's really easy to get radio or TV to just talk about your event on the air because they dig things like this. This is LAN for Life is somewhat different because it's for charity, and if you Google, or when I Googled, I had a very hard time finding charity LAN party events. So this is something that's not heard of. This is something fairly unique, and they are very willing to jump on this bandwagon. But the most important thing is to be creative. Try anything once, twice if it works out well. Get a few sponsors. When dealing with sponsors, I found that there are really two different kinds of sponsors, and I've kind of given them code names. And one is distant sponsors, and the other are close sponsors. Now, the difference is in really how you ask them for things. Distant sponsors are sponsors like ATI, NVIDIA, Balls, who you'll fill out a web form, they'll send you their stuff, and that's the last you'll hear of them until you go to send them pictures from your event or whatever it is they're asking in return. With close sponsors, those are people you're actually going to ask for something. You're going to call them up, email them, and say, excuse me, will you donate stuff? A lot of times those are the people you're going to want to hit up for food, because with a charity event, you're not going to want to spend any money. You're ultimately wanting to break it even or more. Some things that you can do when finding new resources or the things that I like to do is, for one thing, I'll sit down and make a list, and I'll ask other people to do the same. Sit down and make a list of all the people that you buy computer merchandise from and all the people that you know sells computer merchandise or anything related to the, to the field. People that I can think of right off: ATI Balls, NVIDIA, Alienware. There's one more person I can't think of right off. But those people, we've sat down and we've actually made lists of these companies that we can contact. And we pretty much go on Google, we'll do a web search for LAN party and sponsorship. And a lot of times if something's there, that's how it'll pop up. As far as getting close sponsors, what you're probably going to want to do is you're probably going to want to sit down, and as awful as this sounds, you're probably just going to want to sit down and say, do I know anybody that works for these people? That tends to be the best way to go. Like if your friend's aunt, Jenny, works for CDW or something, you'll probably want to go to him and say, hey, can you ask your aunt to get sponsorship? A lot of times companies are a lot more willing to sponsor employee-related activities rather than just some average Joe out on the street. That's a really good way to get sponsors. What I've also found in the past year is that going to shows like this and talking around and meeting and making contacts. That's how my LAN group got in contact with Sybase. Sybase was a sponsor of LAN for Life 2006, and we definitely appreciated it. Never be afraid to ask a business for a donation. The most they can say is no, get out of here. Don't be afraid to ask these people for things. Now the problem is, once you ask them for something, you have to make them happy. That's it, because if not, they won't sponsor you anymore. A lot of times sponsors will they'll ask the logo to be put on their website. That's not a big deal for the most part. They will ask for pictures from the event, which is mostly just to make sure that you did what they want you to do with their stuff. Give it out, and then they want to make sure that you did actually try to promote them at your event. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll make a list of things that the sponsors want us to do, and during the event, before the event, and after the event, I'll check off and I'll make sure that all of those requirements were met. That just makes it a lot simpler when I'm trying to do post-LAN cleanup and just, planning a few tournaments and games. That's the most important part, because your people are going to want to play, whatever. You need to really play what's popular in your area. If you don't know what's popular in your area, set up a poll. Set up a poll on your website and just ask around. Take a poll, ask them what they want to play. You can check your forums if you have them as well to find out, what your people want to play. When you're doing tournaments, you need to think carefully before the LAN party itself. You need to think about your rules. You need to think about things like unsportsmanship-like conduct. You need to think about things like what to do in the event of a tie. If you think about these things beforehand, it's much easier to take care. It's much easier to take care of an argument or something during the event. It took us about a year and a half to learn this lesson, and believe us, we learned it. When you're doing the ladder, it's a lot easier if you get some kind of software to do the ladder for you. We found that the Anonymous LAN Party, written by the Nerd Club, which is available from nerdclub.net/ALP, we found that it works really well and it does everything that we want to do. You like it too?
I just checked it out like a couple days ago.
Yeah. It's really nice. It makes it so much easier to run everything.
I started off writing them myself, and then
We started out writing one ourselves too, and then we were like, we're too lazy for this. Let's go see what we can find elsewhere. So that's a really good program. It simplifies the tournament process a lot, because at the event you say, from the opening ceremony you say, whatever tournament you want to enter, go to this site. Sign up, and you're entered. And it takes care of creating the ladder. It takes care of randomizing teams if you want to do that. We've had bad experiences with that. We don't do that anymore. It just makes it way easier. Most importantly, the most important thing to remember is to always try something. If you have an idea, Even if you're unsure if it's going to be real popular or not, go ahead and give it a shot. One year we tried to do a frozen t-shirt contest, which is pretty much where you freeze a t-shirt for a week, you pull it out of the bag and see who can de-thaw it the fastest. Nobody wanted to play it. That's fine, we tried. You should also always be open about how, about what your guests have to say about how you're running things. A lot of the guests that you'll have been to a lot of LAN parties, and you know they may have seen something that you're doing that's been done better elsewhere. And if they come up and tell you about it, they're not trying to be rude, they're not trying to be hateful or anything else. They just want to help you out. They want to make the event better for everyone else and make the event better later on. Now I'm going to talk about securing some media coverage, which tends to be the area that a lot of LAN organizations will miss, especially when they're doing charity events. Every LAN organization that does a charity event should at least try to get media coverage. The reason for that is the stereotype that nerds do not care about the world around them is bogus, to say the least. We do care, but nobody knows it. Whenever you're doing a charity LAN party, make sure to contact a TV station, call up a radio station, let them know what they're doing. At LAN for Life 2006, that was the first event that we had media coverage. And the way we got it is pretty funny. Myself and the president of the Delta Zeta sorority, who was a co-partner in LAN for Life, actually chased down the Fox TV van to let him know that we were doing this. We tracked him down, we got him to pull over, he came up to the barroom and looked, and we were on the news that night because they just thought it was that cool. And since then, I've kept regular correspondence with that TV station as well as another one. So it doesn't matter how you get that first newscast, the rest of them will just fall into place. As I said just a few minutes ago, this helps provide some exposure, it gives you some free advertisement for your event, and it also proves the old people who sit at home watching the 6 o'clock news and saying that this generation doesn't care, doesn't do anything, well, it proves them wrong. They saw it on the 6 o'clock news. It has to be true, huh? Right about this time, right about in this area, you should be around 2 to 3 weeks before the event. If you're not 2 to 3 weeks before the event, chill out and just let things run its course. Right about here is where I like to do what I like to call the stop check. Stop doesn't mean anything. It just means stop and take a look around. A lot of times by this point, it's going to be very clear where you're falling behind, what needs work and what doesn't. At this point, you're also going to want to start checking your equipment to make sure none of your equipment has failed. At TechLAN 2007, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I don't remember, we actually found about 2 weeks before that one of our servers had died, which was bad. And we found that, thankfully, because of a check that we did 2 weeks before the event, we found it, we were able to correct the problem, order a new power supply, put it in, and our server, which we lovingly named Bruce Campbell, was able to go through the TechLAN without a hitch. If you're borrowing your equipment from places, which as a LAN community progresses, a lot of times they'll start buying their own equipment. When you're first starting out, you may not own your own equipment, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're borrowing your equipment, you're going to want to make sure that your equipment is still going to be available the day of the event. Because if it's not, if the guy that you asked to bring a switch calls and says, well, I don't have a switch now, what are you going to do? Well, there's not a lot you can do. Find another switch, I guess. Right before the event, it's very important that you have some kind of meeting, whether it's via TeamSpeak, IRC, or like we do, we just show up to one of the rooms at the school. It's very important that you do some organization beforehand. At this meeting, we will talk, we will make sure we'll make sure that there's no question about what's going on. We will set up job schedules, who's working the door from this time to this time, who's going to be checking the food from this time to this time. We hammer out responsibilities, minor responsibilities. We also make sure to get a list of people who can come help set up and come help clean up. Getting people to come set up is much easier than getting people to come help clean up. When you're setting up, it's very important to take a look at your area. It's very important to take a look at your area that you're going to have this LAN party. And you're going to specifically want to make sure that there's going to be no problems. And I can point out one problem that we found that we had with our Tech Center ballroom. If you look back here toward the black area at the back of the picture, you'll see a window. This window, the sun would shine in and it would cause a lot of glare on any TV or anything that was in that area. Our solution to that, cover it with industrial plastic. Nobody complained, there was no more glare, problem solved. But had we not solved that, we would have possibly had to rearrange the LAN area. We would have had to, there's all kinds of things we may have had to do to make our guests happy. It's also very important to have plenty of networking equipment. Every year we find that more and more of our cable ends have gone bad. Don't know why. But it's always very important to have extra networking equipment available because that tends to be what will go bad. At the event, at that point, you should be congratulated because whoever coordinates this or whoever works on the servers is probably at the end of their sanity. So at that point, you need to just have a good time and you need to just pat yourself on the back. If you have a problem that day, don't worry about it. Keep a cool head. It'll work itself out. Just find the solution, fix it, get back to having fun. If people talk about, go around and listen to people at the event as well and see what they like and see what they don't like about the event. It's very important that the guests are having fun because if the guests are having fun, you're going to have more fun. I don't know what to say about cleanup. I would assume that we all know how to clean up after ourselves. So, cleaning up is really just try your best to leave the room in the shape that you found it. That's just generally what we do. For the most part, we will put the trash in a place where it's easy to get to, and we won't do everything to clean up, but we'll try to at least minimize the work that the janitors will have to do. If you'd like more information, my presentation is pretty much over. If you'd like more information about Lanville Gamer Community, you can visit us at lanville.org. And coming soon, I'm going to put a Digital Hope website online. If it wasn't for school, I would have already had this done by now. Promise. That's going to be digitalhope.org. I'm going to be adding forms to it soon, and then I'm going to have a full-fledged website online, hopefully by the end of the summer, where people who want to do LAN for Life type events can sign their event up. People can go look and find out what kind of charity things are going on, and then geeks can talk to other geeks about cool things that they're doing to benefit their community. If you'd like to email any questions, if you'd like to talk about Digital Hope, or if you want to just drop me a line and say, hey, you don't know what you're doing, you can just email me at kelcecil@digitalhope.org. And if you guys would be interested, I have a video that one of our guys from LAN for Life 2006 made and sent to us. Fan video? All right. I got thumbs up. That'll do. It's slow. Very slow. I can't even see that. Can you guys see that? No. Here, you guys want to come up here and watch? Or I'll bring it back there. I'm done. Okay, you turned it off.